gotta go. Louie. Oh, baby, said we gotta go. Yeah, 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 yeah. My little girl across the sea. She bent down over to plant the tree. I took a peek, the root was strong. We rock and roll all night long. Louie, oh, baby, we gotta go. Yeah, 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 blue, blue. Oh, baby, we gotta go. His name was Ted. Kept him tied up in a shed. One day he rebelled, bit my hand. He said, "You know, best friend, man, Louie, Louie. Oh, baby, we gotta go. Yeah, 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 yeah." Oh, baby, we gotta go. We gotta go. Bye-bye now. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. We are Norman Cliftook and the Tetherballs. We couldn't perform without you. Finest audience west of Wisconsin. Make sure you had a good time tonight. Make sure you don't have a bad time behind the wheel. Just call old Joe with the taxi and he'll come pick you up. Make sure you tip the bartender. You can afford it. And if you can't afford it, you better ask yourself, what are you doing here? Booze is for winners. Booze is for heroes. One who's got a bank account, it's higher than zero. Pay that child support. Yeah, 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 child support. Be a fucking man for once in your life. Pay that child support. Wow, this is going on. on pretty long. Louie by Richard Berry. And so, there was an FBI file on this song. That's how famous this song is. It's one of the great recordings of all time by the Kingsmen. Especially great vocal. Like the personality of it, like the guy just does not give a fuck. But he's trying to be cool and have fun, but he really, it's sensational. And what we got in Louie Louie is the E minor. Louie, oh, E minor. Now, you know, normally it would be E major in this type of rock song. Oh, baby, we gotta go. Just call me angel on the morning. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Do it. It's normally an E major 5 chord. The natural 5 chord of the key of A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E. E major, root, 3rd, 5th. In the key of A, it's an E major chord for the 5. But Louie Louie, it's got an E minor. So where does that chord come from? The imagination of Richard Berry. It's on the original, you know, and it's not as pronounced. Like it's an interesting thing that happened with a couple of these. Twist and Shout is the brother of Louie Louie. Those are the 2 big boys, I think. And you know, 2 white groups, British, American, copying R&B black records. And wow, I'm really got the visual going here. And changing them. The original recordings for both of Louie Louie and Twist and Shout are jams. They're loose guys that can really playing like, you know, Latin ride cymbal and like, you know, like and it's loose party jam. And you know where I first heard this theory was in Revolution in the Head, the book. So this is not my idea. This is, I mean, they put it in Revolution in the Head, so that's a valid source, man. But what they did is these bands covered, you know, the Beatles' Twist and Shout. It's like they took these loose jams and just made them rigid, solidified them, formalized them in a way that these are not formalized. These are guys that can really play, just playing like a loose kind of, and like when they're going like, it's not as scripted as the Beatles. The whole thing is, and it same with Louie Louie. Louie Louie's not as crazy as Twist and Shout, but it's played by real musicians that can really swing and do the little complicated backup vocals, and these guys just steamroller it. It's like, you know, these guys are down here just painting with a fine brush, and you know, and these guys have got a paint roller and just like creating these blocks of sound. And Yeah, so they have that in common, and but where does the E minor come from is a big question, you know. And that's a borrowed chord. It's a borrowed chord from, and if you remember our lesson on the modes, that would be like part of Mixolydian. So what the hell are we talking about here? It's, you're borrowing a chord. A is in the key of A. It's the 1. And then A is in the key of D. It's the 5 chord. And A is in the key of E. It's the 4 chord. So there's 3 major keys that all have A. You know, there's 3 major chords. So that means there can be 3 keys that have a given major chord in. For example, A is in the key of A, the key of D, and the key of E, I believe, if I haven't screwed up. I can never screw up my keys. I have the cycle of fifths. So all those keys have got A. So we're in D. A is the 5. And then we're in the key of D, E. We've got A as the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, in the key of A, it's the 1. So, which of those keys has an E minor in it is the question. You know, and I'll pause the video and figure it out for yourself or think about it. But once you may not take a second to think about where that comes from, and I'll show you some tools that you can use. Ones that you already know if you know cycle of fifths. So key of here, I'll just draw a cycle of fifths. C, G, D, A, E. Ooh, this thing's all dirty. Just drawing out a cycle of fifths. Okay, so there's your cycle of fifths. Now, we're talking about this A. Now, the key of A has got A. It goes A, B, C, D, E. Like 1, 4, 5. Okay? Key of A has A is 1, D is 4, E is 5. So it's the encirclement pattern on a cycle of fifths, all right? The 1's in the middle of 4 and then the 5. So the next thing would be key of D. It's got A as the 5 and G as the 4 and D as the 1. And it's that other encirclement pattern. So from there you can look, what else has A? Oh, here's E. E's the 1, A's the 4, B's the 5. So that's how you can find 1, 4, 5 on a cycle of fifths. And if it was a different song, F could be the 1, B flat the 4, C the 5. And that's just one use for cycle of fifths, that to pass a test. You know, what's 1, 4, 5 in all 12 keys? You know, it's just like you read it: C, F, G, G, C, D, D, G, A, D, A, D, E. It's like you can just crunch through that and answer that test question in a minute. Whereas if you didn't have anything like this, you'd have to devise some means of just purely memorizing shit. And that's fine too. You know, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. So let's look at the chords in the key of D. So D is the 1, E is the 2, F sharp the 3, G the 4, A the 5, B 6, C sharp. Oh, there's no room for it. Just trust the C sharp's there. So if you look at it, key of D has got E as its 2. Everybody knows the 2 is the minor chord. So key of D has got an E minor in there. And so what he's doing when he's playing Louie, Louie, he's kind of going Louie, Louie. Instead of going like oh to a E major, he's kind of going oh to an E minor in this key. So that means this is kind of modal. And it's modal relative to A being the 5. All right? Because we're talking about A here. A is the 1. So A is the 5, and that's called Mixolydian mode. So if you're perceiving that as the 5 as being the 1, you are in Mixolydian mode A. And then that facet of the song, like you could say this is a Mixolydian song, but it's not, it doesn't really have a Mixolydian flavor, you know, not in the way that Norwegian would, or something that really features a like it's just got that mode built into the song. But this is like it's it sounds like a blues. So he's just taking the blues progression, and I think you can play it as A7 and D7 and E minor as well. But I don't think the Kingsmen do. I think they're just like, or they're probably doing it like this. Oh no, there's a keyboard part that's like in that level of the chord. And listen to some of the other Kingsmen's other music. It's really good. I like it. It's not A level. Like, ooh, this hole is getting bigger. It's getting to be an A-level hole. It's getting covered in paint too. I've been working on my canvases again. I should show the latest one. You might really like it. It's got a mixed bunch of different, it's a drawing essentially, and then I did a layer of white acrylic, and then I had this black Sharpie, or this is all Sharpie too, green Sharpie, and I was just going like this. It was really fun. And then yeah, I did a black layer, and then started just doing a tiny bit of blue, and I got a couple bits on there, and I was like, ugh, that's enough, don't do anymore. You know, you get to that feeling in a drawing. I think this is a drawing with painting elements, but you get to that point in a drawing where it's at a balance of sorts, and you're like, don't go anymore, you know, you'll fuck it up. And I think that's what happens in music too. It's like you don't want to go too far and finish it, because where it gets really fucked up is, say it's just about finished. Okay, if I just do this, it'll finish, but then you screw up, and then it gets into the overworked zone, and I'm not saying overworked is bad. Um, it's it's a, it's a place you could do every time. You could overwork everything, and it would be, you know, if you wanted to do an overworking long process, it would that's fine. But I believe that's just a choice. Like, okay, don't overwork it. Let it be almost done forever. That's better than overworked. And I think Neil Young, that's like, he's the guy like who's the role model in that category sometimes. Sometimes you can see how maybe he should work stuff more. Okay, so Louie's got the borrowed E minor. And here's the pen. So the E minor, so the Louie progression, I would analyze modally, like 1, 4, minor 5, 4, you know? And then, of course, the other element is there's like a C being mixed in with the C sharp. A blues note is added in there. So aside from a borrowed chord, a borrowed 5, minor 5, which I didn't explain, but once again, uppercase is major, uppercase 1, major 1, major 4, and then lowercase 5. It should be maybe pointier. Should be a V. That looks like a U. But where was I going? Oh yeah, minor 5. It's borrowed from the key of D, the neighbor key. And generally, with chord borrowing, you can, the closer the key, the easier it is to borrow. Like if you're an A, it's easy to borrow from D. Oh yeah, easy to borrow from G. Oh hell, all day long. You got a C natural in there. But when you get to here, it does get bluesy. And then, you know, from A to C, that's your parallel key. And, you know, this has A minor, this has A major, this has D minor, this has D major. It's like, you know, everything's perfectly complementary. And then getting to F, that's going to be a lot harder to borrow into that key. And not harder, but, you know, like, it'll be more disjunct and more dissonant. I could give an example of that, like borrowing from A from F major. That's like, what has that? Like that kind of a sound. And a beautiful, so a lot of English bands use that. Dave Bowie uses that. Britpop bands like Blur has that in so many turnarounds. Those guys know all their chords. We were listening to a Blur album yesterday, and it was like, and these melodies are, Donna said, she's like, these melodies are so pretty. And yeah, totally. I'm not gonna make a joke about Pretty Boys. They're like the pretty boy band of all time. But I think that's normal for a British band to have a pretty boy look compared to Canadian bands. No. So he just borrows from the closest possible key. So that's D, and that makes it Mixolydian, and then any key that's got an A in it is the one you want to target. And that cutoff is B flat. Here you've got A as the 7. Here you got A as the 3rd, A minor, A diminished. Here you got A as the 6, A minor. Here you got A minor as the 2. Here you got A major as the 5. And here it is as the 1, and here it is as the 4, and it boop, cuts off. So, like, makes sense. if a major scale has 7 notes in it, then a given note should exist in 7 keys. Just simple logic, really. And man, I don't know what else there. Oh, I was gonna talk about a blues note. So the key of A has a C sharp in it. That's do, re, mi. And sometimes you can borrow a C natural into bow, bow. There's a C. Bow, bow, bow. Borrow it into that chord and it makes a D7. Bow. Over an E7 it makes an augmented bow. High School Confidential. That's what High School Confidential does. They sing that blues note over the 5. High School. Such a good, that is such a cool note. Because the band is not augmenting. They're playing E and she just sings that. Carol Pope sings that note. Though if it was, maybe it was somebody else. Who knows whose idea that was. That's a so you can bring that note into Louie Louie, and there's a lot of that keyboard part has that, like, whoa, we should learn that note for note. I love that beginning. I gotta integrate that into the, I don't know what I was doing, jamming that long version of Louie Louie. Just having fun. I think YouTube is a place to just be goofy. Like, I like polished content, I do. I watch a lot of it, but I also just like rambling mess. Like, this is one place you can do this, you know, so why do something slick? Also, I just don't feel slick lately. I feel rough. Keep everything rough cuts. Get on with the next project. Play an Epiphone. So, yeah, there's that blues note in there. And, that's an A pentatonic minor thing that everybody plays over Louie Louie, probably. What else would you play on Louie Louie, really? Like, is there a good, like, there's one of these kind of licks in there. We should listen to Louie Louie right now. But yeah, actually, it's Richard Berry version too. Louie Louie, Louie Louie. I can't sing today. So hopefully that answers the mystery of the Louie Louie chord. So it's a borrowed 5 chord. It's progression is 1, 4, minor 5, and you can put 7ths. I don't hear that except for on a solo, maybe. And yeah, okay. And please subscribe to the channel if you're just watching this, if you're not Kevin, and we'll do some more stuff like this, and write your comments on the analysis. Love to know what people think about Louie Louie, the best frickin' song. Okay, and peace on earth, goodwill to men.